to be on the Invincible.
That was lit. This man right here is a bad man.
We can do some damage on some churros down there.
Yeah!
Welcome back to Invincible, the show where we tell the stories of the plays, the players, and the pursuit of becoming invincible both on and off the field. My name is Vince Wolfram, and I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky. Allergy season in full effect, but it didn't stop plenty of fans from watching college football, me from getting off the couch, and I know probably what my friend here, Kenyon Sheeran, did on his Saturday morning to kick off a great slate of college football games Saturday morning. Kenyon, my friend, how we doing?
We're doing great. You know, we had our annual Dutch Bros stop. This was the first morning in a long time where I just did the drive-thru. I didn't actually get out of the car to get my Dutch Bros, which I usually always do. But today we went through the drive-thru, or on Saturday we went through the drive-thru. Got my Golden Eagle, man. I put some people onto it on the TND chat. They asked me what my order was, and I told them the Golden Eagle with a little soft top, and they said it was the best damn thing they've ever had. And I'm telling you, if you haven't had it, you got to get it. They got me pumped. They got me ready to go for a full slate of college football where I did nothing but sit in a chair, the couch. I just found new places to sit and watch college football throughout the whole day. And honestly, I couldn't complain. What a great slate of college football.
Like a freshman on a new college campus trying to find out where the study spots are is kind of how this sounds. You're finding all different spots around the house to best view college football.
Yeah, sounds like the best. Ultimately the best view. I'm a defender of this. I think the best way to watch ball, if you're really watching ball, is by yourself. I am not the biggest fan of watching college football games in group settings. One, I got to be a nerd. Two, I just love being able just to nerd out and just watch college football by myself in my humble abode, just all day, every day. If I could do it 7 days a week, I probably would do it 7 days a week. Can't lie to you.
Well, plus, when it's just you get full control of the remote. You get the last button gets spammed as much as you want to. You can avoid any commercials. You never want to be that guy. Can you change it back to the da-da-da game? You never want to be that guy.
Yeah, no, and I don't have to be that guy. Matter of fact, I get to control I already got the quad box from YouTube TV, so you know what's even best? I'm just controlling the audio. Okay, I don't want this audio anymore. I want this audio. And that's the best thing. Having sole control over a remote and connected to a TV might be one of the biggest flexes you can have when watching a slate of college football, even if you're with a group of people. Because if you have control of that remote, you ultimately control what slate you're watching and everything. And let me tell you, I was watching a beautiful 4-screen all day. There was always more than 4 games on that were absolutely impeccable. And it was just a great day of college football.
Yeah, the YouTube TV quad box certainly separates the OGs from the Gs, and I think that's what Week 8 did as well. It separated the real from the fake, right? We saw a lot of highly ranked teams fall, a lot of undefeated seasons get put to an end, right? 4 top 10 teams go down in Week 8, 5 unbeaten teams rank a loss in their loss column for the first time this season. And crazy stat I saw after this week completed was AP top 10 teams have lost 18 times this season. That's the most through 8 weeks since 2007, which just means chaos is in full pursuit of college football this season, and we're getting the wrath of it. Lucky for us, this week it started on Friday night. I think a game that only a handful of people on the national scale were really watching out for. Louisville at number 2 Miami. This game, it seemed to just fall in the Cards' favor from the start, right? Break this one down for me on Friday night, the one that kept us on the end of our seats.
Yeah, the Cards got out to an early lead, and they kind of kept and maintained that lead throughout the whole game. I never really felt like Miami was like they took control of that game from Louisville. I felt like Louisville was always playing in control. Brohm had a masterclass of a play calling performance. Miller Moss had himself a day, 23 to 37, 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. Isaac Brown, their running back, also had 113 yards and 15 carries. When you can run the ball that well and you're throwing the ball that well, they averaged 3.8 yards per rush. That's phenomenal. And I think for Louisville fans, if you were watching this game, you kind of were like, oh, do we really have a chance? And with the way Miami played, I think Miami arguably played their worst game of the season. I don't think it's going to come close. I don't think Miami will play this bad ever again. But to Louisville's credit, Louisville had a great game plan offensively and defensively. And this was a game that everybody kept their eyes on. If they started the night not thinking about that game, they definitely turned it on when Louisville was up 14-0, and they were like, this might be something we need to watch here. So this was a great game overall. What a Friday night slate night to kick us off in college football, right? That's a beautiful game. And just, yeah, I think for Miami fans, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, you're no longer unbeaten in the number one team. You arguing yourselves for the number one team in the country is finally over. You guys tried to do that for a few weeks. You tried to convince me you're better than Ohio State. I didn't jump the gun on that one just because Ohio State's still so dominant. But for Miami, you'll be fine. And for Louisville, they got some noise to make in the ACC. They showed themselves that as hey, we're here in the ACC too, and we want a chance to compete for the ACC championship at the end of the season.
Why was it such a fun game? I mean, Jeff Brohm, the king of chaos, right? He had trick plays, he had fake field goals, fearless football. He did it again. This one didn't seem like luck, really. It kind of felt like calculated chaos. Louisville's defense was a circus, right? Fake field goal, Louisville's offense, fake field goal, fake reverse, 3 different players catching snaps in the backfield. Brohm threw the kitchen sink at Miami's defense, and it worked for the most part. Chris Bell, an NFL caliber guy. Miller Moss was abusing that connection. 9 catches for 136 yards for Bell, 2 touchdowns, 1 from 36, 1 from 35 yards. And for Miami, just a disappointment, right? In week 4, I noted Miami is the scariest team in college football. And the why, I alluded to 2 reasons: scary good and scary bad. Scary good being that their defense was unreal in the first couple of weeks. We remember the ranked teams that they beat. They outdid the rest of the state of Florida. And their offense is finding its footing. But if it did, it's a loaded weapon with tons and tons of potential. Scary bad is that they hadn't reached that potential yet, and we never knew if they would. A bad night would be a bad night. It ended up being that the latter showed up on Friday night against Louisville. Defense didn't play his best, and the offense certainly appeared to wish they were still on their bye week, right? 4 interceptions thrown from Carson Beck, the most in any game in his college career, 2 of which, just to note, unreal plays from the Louisville defensive backs. I think it was his first 2 interceptions where, whoa, how did he get there? How did he catch that football? You win the turnover battle, you win the game. You and I have both mentioned that time and time again in these big games this season. Louisville did that, right? Held Miami to 63 rushing yards on 24 carries. Miami's 10-game home winning streak snapped. The last team to beat them at home, guess who?
Louisville.
The Louisville Cardinals. Miami, I thought, looked like a team that didn't believe it could lose until it did. It maybe is the way to put that. But I didn't expect a shakeup from Miami on this one. Did you? Did you see this coming at all?
I would say a Friday night ACC matchup, they're always stinky, as Cam Ward would say. When you look at Florida State, what happened to them when they were in their UVA matchup at night on a Friday night. Friday night ACC games always used to just always kind of shock you. You need to be aware for them because that's what they usually do. But I would not say I had this one on my radar, although looking back, it's really not that crazy that it happened.
I agree.
If you look at like you said, we looked at turnover battle. Like if you would have told me Miami had 4 turnovers in the game against Louisville, I would have told you they lost the game because that's the reality is, right? So it's like sometimes it's about those little things and breaking down those little things and finding those little discrepancies. But no, shout out Louisville because I did not necessarily turn that game on thinking, oh, they're going to do this to Miami. But I will say by the time I got the opportunity to turn the game on, it was already 14-0 Louisville. So, of course, when I'm watching the game, I'm like, wow, they could do this. At the same point, I was like, Miami's big bad wolf, right? Like they're going to come back. You were just waiting kind of for Miami's offense to start clicking and start getting its motor running, and it just never did.
Yeah, Louisville took advantage early, never looked back. And I'll say this because, as you know, I'm in Louisville right now. I'm shooting this right now from the city. Not a Louisville fan, not a Kentucky fan by any means in the football front. But I will say I know Louisville fans, they get ahead of themselves pretty quickly. So here's this, right? I'm not saying Louisville deserves to be a top 15 team. I've seen some of that on Twitter. Let's cut that because realistically, you haven't done anything but beat Miami to prove that. Are you one of the most, if not the most underappreciated one-loss team in the country? You never know, right? I mean, you got a coach with the most ACC wins since 2023. You're statistically the best defense in the ACC. A lot of things to be proud of, but a lot more games that you gotta win and really prove something if you want to be in that elite level conversation. Stat to note: Jeff Brohm moves to 4-0 against top 3 opponents when his team is unranked. That's an unreal stat. And 2 more stats for you as we head into our next game here. There's 16 teams in the SEC. Nearly one of those is either aiming for a playoff spot or getting their coach fired. And 8 SEC conference games on Saturday, the most ever in a single day ever in history. So we had SEC slate full of fantastic games. And the first one where we're going to start, number 5, Ole Miss, travel to Sanford Stadium down there at number 9, Georgia. A barn burner, an offensive fire-filled game, ends up 43-35 in favor of Georgia. What'd you see?
Yeah, if you told someone a few years ago that somebody scored 35 points on Georgia at home, they would have said, huh? And they would have looked at you like they probably won that game by double digits. Well, Ole Miss did everything they needed to do, except score in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss finally what Trinidad Chambliss was doing to that Georgia defense was mightily impressive. Ole Miss was just as a whole cooking. Lane Kiffin had Chambliss. He finished 19-36, 263 yards and a touchdown. I think what happened was towards the late game, they were kind of forcing the pass a little bit because Georgia had stopped their run pretty well. Juwan Lacey only had 12 carries for 31 yards. So they were looking to kind of keep passing the ball. And at that point, eventually the thing about Kirby Smart is, you might score some points on him, but eventually he's going to out-adjust you. He's going to out-coach you eventually, right? Like even the best of them, like Lane Kiffin, at some point, Kirby Smart's going to say enough is enough, and they're going to outcoach you. And I don't know what the synopsis is or how they do it as a Georgia program, but they always find a way to do it, right? And that was my takeaway from this game. I also take away with this game is Gunnar Stockton is legit. He is fun to watch. He was 26-31, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. He might take over Tyson for my Swagger Watch of the week this week because what he's able to do just super, super impressive. He also had 10 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. He totaled 5 touchdowns. Gunnar Stockton did. So what he was able to do in that game was so impressive. And it's really cool watching a player live out their dreams. That was his dream, was to play for Georgia and to play in games like this. And he, not only did he live up to the hype, he lived up to the expectation. And I think, that this game was won by just Georgia's slight defensive adjustments as well as Georgia's offense just being that damn good.
Definitely. Kirby Smart, he called it just another day in the SEC, but Georgia reminded everybody that they're hard to kill, I think is the way to put it. For 3 quarters, Lane Kiffin's offense was surgical. Trinidad Chambliss looked like the GOAT for 3 quarters. Their offense was rolling. They scored on their first 5 possessions. He found 8 different receivers, I think, I read in the first 3 quarters of this game. But what we talked about last week with Georgia-Auburn, their season identity is the refusal to go away. And in the fourth quarter, this time it was Gunnar Stockton and the adjustments, like you mentioned, that helped flip that switch again. Down 35-26 entering the fourth quarter. 0 first downs for Ole Miss in the fourth quarter. 17-0 in the final frame is what Georgia outscored Ole Miss. They're just impossible. They're seemingly impossible to put away is what I'm gathering from this Georgia team. Maybe they're tougher than they are prettier, I feel like, because their game is not super eye-catching. It's a lot of hard-nosed screen kind of stuff. Stockton delivered one of the gutsiest performances I had seen from him, if not the gutsiest. The part I thought was biggest was on the ground. You mentioned it too. 10 rushes for 59 yards, including a score on the ground. They doubled Ole Miss in time of possession. Winning recipes too with quarterback and tight end. When they're bros, it's a good thing. And when Lawson Lucky was elite with Gunnar Stockton, 3 touchdowns for those guys connecting. So they were a big thing in this game. And Georgia, they've trailed in their 5 SEC, I guess in 4 other 5 SEC games, they've trailed at halftime. They're 3-1 in those games. The second half adjustments, it's not just a thing that we say because they play better in the second half. It is a thing that they do, and as a result, play better in the second half.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention in this game is you mentioned it with Gunnar, and I mentioned it as well with Gunnar, what he was able to do with his legs. But Georgia had 221 yards on the ground, whereas Ole Miss only had 88 yards. In the SEC, I talk about it every week, right? Yeah. I talked about it against Oklahoma and Texas last week. Oklahoma actually ran the ball this week. In the SEC, you have to be able to run the football. If you can't run the football in the SEC, it limits your offense too much, and these defenses are too good. The teams you're playing are too good if you can't run the ball. Ole Miss obviously needed to up their rushing attack a little bit more because 3.7 yards per carry. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing. Whereas Georgia ran it 49 times, almost double the amount that Ole Miss ran it, and averaged 4.5 yards a carry. 4.5 yards a carry, excuse me.
Yeah, and like we mentioned last week, when you play Georgia, you sign up for 60. And that's what Ole Miss maybe thought they were getting into. But it's a harsh reminder for them, right, that a great start doesn't all the time mean anything if you can't close. The Rebels were 1 quarter away from a win that could have really put them on a fantastic trajectory for the rest of the season. But those last 15 minutes were run by Georgia.
Yeah, you gotta play 60 minutes, not 45, not 42, not 58. You gotta play 60 minutes of, as there's a quote there, you gotta play 6 minutes of FU football in the SEC if you want to win a game. And I think Georgia knows how to play 60 minutes of a football game because they are just so well coached. Kirby Smart has that team. I think he's the best coach in college football right now.
Yeah,
I feel comfortable saying that. I was thinking the best coach in college football this year going into the year was going to be Dabo Swinney, but I think after some weeks and some more time to really assess where these coaches are at this year, I think Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football.
It's hard to deny it, right? He's got the record, he's got the track record, and every single year it seems like he's got a team who's playing smash mouth football. We talked about how there was 8 SEC conference games today. We're going to start our breakdown with all 3 of the biggest ones. Let's go from Sanford Stadium and Athens after a big win for the Bulldogs to Alabama. Number 11 Tennessee, Joey Aguilar, and number 6 Alabama. What do you think Alabama did because it felt like they controlled this game from the jump, no?
Yeah, I never felt like Alabama was in a chance to lose this game. I feel like Alabama always had control. And I don't really know, because when you look at the box score, I mean, Tennessee had more first downs. There's some weird stats you can just look at. But I think for me, Alabama just always was kind of coasting the driver's seat of this game. Ty Simpson was 19 for 29, 253 yards and 2 touchdown passes. They also had a run game going a little above average. A lot of sweet plays to Bernard, but he still counts those rushing yards and he got upfield. I obviously think that like Tennessee just felt like it was too much for them, especially defensively for them. They can't compete with a team like Alabama. They lost way too much talent last year defensively, and that's what it kind of felt like. And then for Tennessee offensively, Joey Aguilar had an interception. You can't turn the ball over against a team like Alabama. I know it's easy. Alabama had 1 fumble as well, but still, it's a lot different than throwing an interception if you're Joey Aguilar, because his interception was a bad interception that resulted in 7 points for Alabama. So that I think that was that one chance where if Tennessee would have scored a touchdown right there right before half, that they were going to be in the game, and they threw a pick 6 to the other opposite side. That can't happen if you're Joey Aguilar, because that would have kept them in the game. That was the first time where I thought, oh my gosh, Tennessee's about to be in this ball game, and then they threw a pick 6, and I was like, I don't see much of a ball game anymore. I don't know if you felt the same way or what everybody else felt at home, but that was kind of once they threw that pick 6, I mean, it was kind of like throwing the white flag down. That was kind of over almost once they threw that pick 6.
Totally. I mean, a 99-yard pick 6 before the halftime. You got cigars lit before sunset. Alabama, I felt like, didn't just beat Tennessee. They kind of just broke them down. And you mentioned that pick 6. That at the end of the first half was, in my opinion, the single defining play of the game, because it changed it from what would have been a 1-score game going into the break to 23-7. That's a huge difference momentum-wise, confidence-wise for both teams, right? Alabama gets absolutely boosted up 10 notches because of it, and Tennessee gets knocked down in the knees by a Razor scooter. So that's a tough spot to be if you're Tennessee. I thought the Crimson Tide defense was good. That was something I was watching for. Held Tennessee, which was the nation's highest scoring offense coming into the game, to 410 yards. Doesn't sound crazy, but when you tell them that they're averaging 530, it's a win for the Crimson Tide. You mentioned Ty Simpson. He's a machine-powered fellow right now. 19 of 29, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. Directed 2 90-plus yard touchdown drives. I think that's huge if you got a guy that can lead your offense like that. His efficiency's been the backbone of this Alabama win streak so far. And for Tennessee, I think if you look individually at the performances, you'd be like, okay, well, yeah, it wasn't half bad. But they just didn't capitalize in the situations as a team that they needed to. They did go 4 out of 5 on 4th down, which if you're a box score guy, that's really impressive. But they still had moments where they left, when you're filling in the test and you miss a bubble and you mess up the whole thing. That's kind of how this felt, like a Scantron test and they missed a bubble. Forced Ty Simpson to fumble. After the Vols scored a touchdown in the 3rd quarter, they get the ball back around midfield and go 3 and out. Can't do that. Alabama on the next drive goes 99 yards and basically seals the game. Things like that, Tennessee, if they can clean up those moments and capitalize on the opportunities gifted to them by the opposition, they would be in a much better spot in this game, but it just never really fell in line for the Vols. The Tide have now won 17 of the last 19 meetings between these two and prevented Tennessee from winning back-to-back games in the rivalry for the first time since 2003. I thought Alabama was just really impressive.
Yep, I think that's what it comes down to. I think Alabama was just a really impressive team, and they played a better brand of football than Tennessee played. Like you said, that fumble from Ty Simpson, that defense to come force a 3 and out. I don't think their Tide defense is going to get enough credit for this matchup because they did still have 410 yards. But like you said, in retrospect, 410 yards to their average is a lot different. I overall think that this was a phenomenal football game. If you're an Alabama fan, you need to be excited because this team is really, really good. No understatements, no ifs, ands, or buts. This team is really, really good.
Yeah, and they're making history in the process. They've got a 6-game winning streak going right now, 4 straight over ranked opponents, which is a first in SEC history without a bye week in between. So they are on a roll and showing no signs of slowing down. Speaking of no signs of slowing down, one of the cities in the South that never sleeps, Nashville, Tennessee, hosted a big matchup on Saturday afternoon. Number 10 LSU at number 17 Vanderbilt. God, there's an edge building in Nashville, and it was on full display Saturday in that noon game. The noon slot was tough for LSU.
Yeah, not a good day for LSU, but what a phenomenal day if you're Vanderbilt in the state of that program. Diego Pavia, they were 6 for 13 on third down. They had 6 more first downs than LSU had. They had almost 400 yards, 399 yards of total offense against an LSU defense that we've said to be pretty stout, that we've raved about. They were missing Whit Weeks, one of their star linebackers, but at the same time, LSU could have still won this game, and I think this game was won by just who wants it more. And it looked like Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, they wanted it more than LSU did. I think that was a separating factor in this game. You can sit here, give you numbers, you can give you whatever, but Diego Pavia refused to lose this game, and he wanted it more. I think that's the difference maker in this game.
Totally. And I think there is a real conversation to be had about the complete opposite directions that both of these SEC coaches are going in. One's building something really special at a school that has been starving for it for many, many years, and the other is losing a grip on what he was believed to have, that being Clark Lea and Brian Kelly. I think we start with Clark Lea because he worked under Kelly at Notre Dame as a defensive coordinator, took the head coaching job at Vanderbilt. They were the doormat when Clark Lea got to this program. And now they look like a team that has structure. You mentioned it. They've got a certain edge and an attitude to them that is hard to stop and hard to out-confidence, I think. They've built an identity there. And, I mean, from a progression standpoint, he's developed Diego Pavia into a guy that's now doing the Heisman pose in the end zone, and he's saying he's the best player in college football. I mean, the guy's accounted for 25 total touchdowns through just 7 games. Lee said after the game, like, we've earned the right to celebrate, but this game won't define our season. That's something big. Vanderbilt was rushing the field when they beat Alabama. They didn't even think about doing it this time because they're growing into something new and knowing what this program can be. That's something that a coach that's building for something bigger sustains success. And on the other side with Brian Kelly, that is the other side. A team loaded with talent, a former top 10 ranking. They had a guy in Garrett Nussmeier who came back to school to hopefully try to lead LSU to a national championship and find himself high up on the NFL draft boards after this season. 5-star athletes everywhere. They're sitting at 5-2. Brian Kelly's 5-10 versus ranked teams at LSU. Their offense is a must, right? We talk about death, taxes, LSU offense. That's usually how it goes. Well, LSU, the Tigers have been rocking with death and taxes all year long. 4 red zone trips against Vanderbilt, all field goals. Can't do that. And in Kelly's postgame, we've seen this time and time again from Brian Kelly. He said we had opportunities, we just didn't cash in on them, which is kind of the point. Like I feel frustration for the LSU fans because I had seen it following Notre Dame for as long as I had. Like, this is what you signed up for with Brian Kelly. And at what point does we didn't cash in on him become your identity? Because I feel like that's the pit that LSU might be falling into now. And if years ago, if I had said this, I probably would have laughed. But now, I mean, Clark Lea's growing something really elite at Vanderbilt, and Brian Kelly's underachieving. And if you don't believe me, check the scoreboard in Nashville. That's how I feel about that situation. I feel for LSU fans.
Brian Kelly, you gotta find a way to win these big time games, and he's gonna have another one against Bama. That's the thing about LSU's still gonna have their chances to rebound this season.
Yeah,
So don't put your head down all the way, but they've got to figure out that offense. Dude,
have to.
Garrett Nussmeier had to be consoled on the sidelines right before that game was about to end. He's sitting on the bench and he's literally probably crying because right now his draft stock is lower than it was last year, and he's probably really in shambles because he came back to win a national championship. That was their plan, and quite frankly, they're far ways away from being able to win a national championship with how that offense is playing right now.
Just one of the biggest surprises for me this season is the flip, right? We know LSU's defense was the big question mark coming in, and we see in the Clemson game, whoa, this LSU defense might be for real. And you expect the offense to be what it's been for so many years, and we see not much resemblance of that offense at all. So it's a tough pill to swallow, I know, for the fans down in Baton Rouge. Not over, certainly. There's lots of chances in SEC play to continue to try to make your case to be one of those 2-loss teams that we might see in the college football playoff. So plenty of chances left, but I know that the hope there has probably dwindled a lot in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, probably so. You'd probably be right there.
All right, let's head up now. We're going to leave the SEC. I know, I hate to do it to them out of the day we had in the SEC. But let's head up to South Bend, Indiana. Number 20 USC traveled cross country to play Marcus Freeman and his boys, 7:30 p.m., a night game at Notre Dame Stadium. For me, this one's pretty simple. Run game. Shadarion Price had a 100-yard kick return. That flipped the game. Jeremiah Love ran the Trojans right out of South Bend. To me, if Jeremiah Love's not the best running back in college football, somebody's really going to have to make a great case to try to prove me otherwise. I think in terms of the best ofs, he'll be right up there with them, with Ty Simpson as a quarterback, with those kind of guys up in New York by the end of the year. Career performance, 228 yards and a touchdown on just 24 attempts, average over 9.5 yards per carry. USC's defense, they couldn't stop much between the tackles. Love's previous best was 157, so he almost doubled the number, which is really crazy to think about. In the pouring rain, you knew where this game was going to be won, right, on the ground. And when Notre Dame has 306 carries, 3 touchdowns on 44 carries, and USC has 68 yards on 29 carries, no scores, that was going to be the difference. I was really, really impressed with Jordan Mailata, though, because when the run game, you're not relying on the run game, and they were playing with backup guys, there's so much more pressure on the quarterback. And for the first, 40 some odd minutes of this game, he was the real deal. One heck of a quarterback. Lincoln Riley had a very good game plan, I thought, for Maviava to make a difference, and he found the weak link in the secondary in Christian Gray, tried to attack it, and he did throw one souvenir to Gray, but for the most part, he was really damaging to that Notre Dame secondary. And in the fourth quarter, it was mistakes. It was that interception. It was the Mekhi Lemon fumble on the reverse play, which Lincoln Riley called just a terrible call in that moment. He was straight up about it, which I can respect. But Notre Dame's running offense, just too much, I think, for this USC Trojan defense.
Yeah, I say all the time, if you can win the running back, what do I say, Vince? I say that the 3 keys to winning a football game: winning in the trenches, winning the running game, and I'm forgetting one.
Turnover battle.
Turnover battle. Thank you.
Boom!
Thank you, Vince. Thank you. Boom! How did I forget my
That is
favorite
teamwork
quote of the
right
day?
there, baby.
How did I forget my favorite quote? Yeah, they won the running battle. They won the turnover battle. USC had 3. Yeah, but I was going to say this game was kind of simple. Jeremiah Love won this game. I don't think the conversation needs to be very long. That dude's got it. Okay, he's got that it factor, and he's the best running back in college football right now. I think that's a non-debate. But I wanted to say shout out to USC though. They really went out there and competed in the rain for that past West Coast RPO heavy offense. They went out there and they competed. And Lincoln Riley and his coach, nothing to hang their head down. They still got a chance. They have 2 losses in the Big Ten now, which is obviously not what you want to have, but they can still make some noise.
From the Notre Dame side, 2 quick things to note. CJ Clark, I kind of thought had his first stinker of a game, but you expect that. He's a freshman. Still managed to win in probably the biggest game still left on Notre Dame's schedule. So despite Notre Dame not having a great day under center from CJ Carr, you still managed to win. Also, the defense, I know publicly I feel like it's perceived as not great. I saw a stat that really surprised me. They have 15 takeaways in just their last 6 games. I think that proves more about maybe Chris Ash than what people are giving him credit for. Sure, there was holes in the defense against USC that Maeva, fired right through, but the numbers are there, and this Notre Dame defense seems to be improving little by little, week by week.
Yeah, I just think that was a really good win for Notre Dame. I kind of left it at short that first time I talked about it, but the reason why is because I think you said everything that needed to be said. Their run game won that game. They won the turnover battle, and they won in the trenches, baby. They won the big three. That was kind of what I was getting at the first time until I forgot one of my favorite things about big three. My buddy had to help me out here for a second. Sorry, guys. Performance anxiety. Fell to the pressure there. But no, I think they won all three. They won in the trenches. They won the run game. They won the turnover battle. You can win those three things. It's going to be really hard to lose a ball game. And Jeremiah Love, he needs all his props. I think – dude, I feel like maybe this is a reach, but I feel like ever since that ESPN storyline came up with him, he's playing a lot more free. He's playing a lot more in tune with, where he's at, where his feet are at. And I think that was really cool that ESPN shared that moving story. And yeah, just shout out Notre Dame. What a good win. Like you said, CJ Carter didn't even play amazing, and they still could win the game because Jeremiah Love and that run game was so, so good. Also, I think we'd be doing a discredit, though, if we didn't shout out King Miller, the freshman walk-on running back for USC.
Yeah, true.
The fact he's a freshman walk-on, he's getting snaps at Notre Dame on the road as a freshman walk-on. That is damn impressive. And I think that is really sick. That's a really cool story that college football should probably keep an eye on more because the walk-on stories are some of the best stories you'll ever hear in college sports.
Totally, and he wasn't terrible playing against a tough Notre Dame front. Although it wasn't the USC offense focus of the day, I think just by how well Maeva was playing and how he was dishing it out to the tight ends and receivers, still something to watch for. And it's always good to see the walk-on boys doing something dangerous. You talked about working as a team. I mean, you forget one. I got your alley-oop. I throw it up, you dunk it. Let's do it. Let's go through the best teams in college football. This is the Pole Patrol, your fast pass through the top 25. I got the odds, you got the evens. Are we ready to roll?
I will be ready to roll in approximately...
let ESPN.com load. We're all good.
Yeah, come on, guys. You got to let my ESPN.
I got number one. Let's go with it. All right,
Go,
Ohio State ran Wisconsin out of their own stadium. Julian Sayin, the shining star in this one, 36 of 42, career high, 393 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's completed 80% of his passes this season, 19 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's bound to be in the Heisman Trophy contention just so based off of those numbers. Buckeyes have won their first 7 games this season by an average of 30 points. Way, way, way impressive. Wisconsin, they've suffered back-to-back shutout losses for the first time since 1977. And the seat in which Luke Fickell sits is getting a little more warm as we speak.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing on that Ohio State-Wisconsin game. Julian Sayin is quite literally playing himself into the Heisman ceremony. He is playing phenomenal football. I think, I might have him ranked as my number one quarterback in college football the way he's playing. I'd have a hard time putting him over Ty Simpson right now just because Ty Simpson's the level of competition Ty Simpson's played is a little bit higher. But I think he's probably top 3, and he needs to be right there in the discussion because he's playing some damn good ball right now.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Okay. Next up, we've got number 2, Miami, hosting Louisville. Obviously, we talked about that one on the mainstay, but Louisville wins 24-21 over Miami.
Number 3, Indiana laps Michigan State 38-13. The sharpest I had seen Mendoza yet. Offensive juggernaut, right? They're averaging over 44.5 points per game. They scored on their first 4 drives. Get this, 3 of which had possession times of 1:47, 1:50, and 2 minutes 40 seconds. We're talking quick drives. Mendoza had those boys rolling, deserving to celebrate their highest AP poll ranking in its history.
Yeah, we've got A&M at Arkansas. This game final score, A&M won 45-42. Gonna be honest, I didn't get a chance to really watch this game. We got put in a massive weather delay, so this game kind of started airing where other games were already airing, and it kind of got the backseat. But I will say Arkansas put up a good fight. A&M, though, too much talent, too much depth. They found a way to win this ball game.
A&M offense rolling, scored on 7 of 9 completed drives, totaled 497 yards on offense. They are 7-0 for the first time since 1994, and they're the only remaining SEC unbeaten. Number 5, Ole Miss, we talked about that. They lost in an offensive fist fight against Georgia at number 5. We talked about number 6, Alabama, controlling versus Tennessee, 37-20 with friend of the program, Ty Simpson, under center. GOAT. After a 12-point fourth quarter lead turned into a deficit, Sam Leavitt led Arizona down the gridiron for a 1-yard touchdown run with 34 seconds left to help hand number 7 Texas Tech its first loss of the season. I don't know if you were able to catch this one. This one very well could have been the game of the night. This was like an unreal comeback from the Red Raiders. Arizona State in control for much of this one. Red Raiders come back in the fourth quarter. They just left too much time on the clock for Leavitt and Arizona State. Backup QB for the Red Raiders too, but it was their defense I thought that fell a little bit short.
I watched it because, I'm a Texas guy. I'm from Texas.
Yep.
I love all the Texas teams. They had a backup quarterback in who tried his best. Baron Morton's out, but that backup quarterback made a deep ball in that last drive. But yeah, shout out Texas Tech. Shout out Arizona State more for finding a way to win that bowl game. But shout out Texas Tech on a backup quarterback to be able to almost go to Tempe and win that game. I think that deserves a lot of respect to Texas Tech and the staff and the culture Joey McGuire's built there.
100%. Yeah, it was a great win. Definitely a one that you were watching the clock and then watching the score and watching the clock slowly dwindle and the score just keep going up. What is happening? And sure enough, it gave us a pretty bookend ending.
Yeah, we've got number 8 Oregon over against Rutgers. They won 56-10. Not much to say there. It was Rutgers football. Rutgers, I don't know how they still have a football team at this point, but they do. So shout out Rutgers, baby. Shout out Oregon, though. Good win. Dante Moore, good little bounce back against the Rutgers, against the Scarlet Knights.
God, love the Scarlet Knights. Number 9, Georgia. They'll be ranked much higher than 9 after beating Lane Kiffin's squad in the fourth quarter the way that they did. Talk to me on number 10.
Number 10, we got number 10 LSU versus 17 Vandy. Vandy wins 31-24. We already talked about it all. I think everything that needed to be said there. Diego Pavia, though, that dude, what he's doing to that Vanderbilt program, I mean, the amount of money and funding, that he's bringing into that university for football by himself right now, just absurd. He's got probably the richest people in Nashville wanting to support Vanderbilt football right now, which is just a really, really, really cool scene.
157 people, I think I saw. In the Pavia section to support. Pretty impressive stuff. Number 11 Tennessee fell at Bama. Big L for the Volunteers. Talk to me on 12.
12 Georgia Tech over Duke. They won 27-18. This game was really interesting, and actually Duke probably could have won this game if they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. Quite frankly, I think Duke probably should have won this game, but they didn't win the game, and sometimes that's going to happen in college ball, and sometimes you're going to win games you probably shouldn't win. So yeah, Georgia Tech snuck out a little victory over there at Duke.
Yeah, battle of really good ACC quarterbacks there in Darian Mensah and Haynes King. We'll talk about one of those guys in just a couple of minutes. Number 13, Notre Dame. We talked about it, get a rivalry win over number 20, USC, 34-24. Can we please keep rivalries? They're talking about the extension of this rivalry. We got to do it. Just keep the rivalries. It's all in good fun, all in good competition, and we want more lines in the history books. Let's quit that conversation. Keep the rivalries alive.
Keep the rivalries alive. Next up, we've got Oklahoma at South Carolina. They won 26-7. South Carolina, Beamer, I don't know what that seat's doing. I don't know if it's warming up. I don't know if it's getting hot. I don't know. But Shane Beamer's got to find a way to start winning some ball games. This was supposed to be the best team he's had in his tenure at South Carolina, and they are not playing good football.
Great words.
That offensive line.
Fast. Yeah,
that offensive line is really, really bad. So I feel really bad for our boy Lenora Sellers back there because he's running for his life every time he gets the ball.
Yeah, he is a hop, skip, and jump away from being sacked on every single play. Tough spot to be in for Ole Norris. Number 15, BYU, in another barn burner, this time against number 23, Utah. They managed to make it happen in this one, 24-21. Cougars undefeated at 7-0. Third straight victory in the Holy War. Bless you.
Excuse
God
me.
bless you. It's a cough, but I'm blessing you, my friend.
Excuse me. Next up, we got number 16, Missouri at Auburn. They were up 23. Mizzou won 23-17. Excuse me. I'm still fighting. I don't know what happened, dude. I didn't even have a sip
It's
of
the
drink or
allergies.
anything.
I'm telling you, they're just getting around. That's
It could
all.
be. We've got 16 Missouri at Auburn. They won 23-17 in double overtime. Yeah, it's time to let go, Hugh Freeze. It's time to let it go. How's that song go in Frozen? Let it go, let it go. That's how I feel about it. We just need to let it go. The Hugh Freeze era has run its tenure. He's had enough time. He brought in some good recruiting classes, so whoever comes in next will have a good roster as long as they don't all leave. But if Florida can fire Billy Napier, Auburn can fire Hugh Freeze. That's all I'm going to say, because one buyout is a lot cheaper than the other, and that is the Auburn buyout on Hugh Freeze.
That's the truth. I was trying to explain it to my family watching the end of this Auburn game. Yes, we're at the end of regulation. This is what Auburn does. They blow games like this. Missouri did Missouri things to win, and Auburn did Auburn things to lose. That's how I would put this one. Put the bow on that one. Goodness gracious. Number 17, Vanderbilt. Yeah, number 17, Vanderbilt. Big win at home. They've got another one next week we'll talk about in just a bit.
Number 18, Virginia. They found a way to win against Mizzou.
Ugly.
Barely. Ugly, but you know what? That's funny because that Washington State team almost beat Ole Miss the week before too. So shout out that Washington State team. Apparently they got some dogs, and apparently they're mad that they didn't get an invite to a conference. So when they play these conference teams, they're ready to play. They're ready to ball. Virginia found a way to win though, 22-20 over Washington State.
Yeah, love a good squeak out win, and that Washington State team proving to be pretty impressive. Number 19, USF. They laid down the law on another Florida-based team, 48-13 over FAU. Byron Brown threw for 256, 3 tuds, and ran for a score as well. 522 yards of total offense in the win. Absurd. The Bulls are 6-1.
Yeah, number 20, I think they were on a bye.
USC.
USC. See, that's my boy right there. He got me feeling. Hey, can I do this 21 Texas real quick? Because I got some things to talk about.
I was going to just tee it up for you and see what you thought of this. I think Texas might be the Kanye West of college football. You really don't know what you're going to get every new time you see them down the block. You may hate it. You may love it. You may just sit back, laugh, and say, what in the world is going on? Take it away.
Yeah, so Texas, number 21, Texas played at Kentucky this weekend in Kroger Field. And I don't know if half the team didn't get off the airplane, or I don't know what happened, actually, quite frankly, because the scoreboard also shows a Texas win. But let me tell you, that stat is very deceiving, okay? That was a Texas loss that somehow was a win, okay? Let's just clarify this. Anybody watching needs to know this. Texas played bad brand of football. Bad. You're sitting here laughing at me. I'm not joking.
No, I'm like, oh yeah, he's right.
It's like I finally think that, like, all right, the Texas team that I think can take a step forward, like they did last week against Oklahoma. A way better front, a way better defense, a way better everything you just saw against Kentucky. And it's like we just regressed all the way back. Okay, like we were on an upward trajectory, and I was like, oh, here they go, boy. The boys getting hot. Now they're like, it's like the stock market sometimes. I think that thing's crashing. I don't understand, man. That offensive line, that Texas team plays with no fight, no heart. That offensive line is not good. Arch doesn't have enough time to pass. Arch is rushing his, throwing his passes. But shout out to Texas defense. I mean, that's at least something to cheer for, right? They got a goal line stop in overtime to force a 0 point. Good thing they forced 0 points, because if they would have let Kentucky score a touchdown, Texas, you know damn well Texas wouldn't have got back into the end zone, so Texas would have lost that game. That's all I got. My piece was set. I think their returning punt returner had more yards of offense than the entire Texas offense in 4 quarters of a ball game, which is crazy to think about.
Sheesh. And for Kentucky fans, right, this is every week, right? It's like you feel like you're either getting blown out or you're losing a mega close game. You've seen it time and time again. Stoops, hot seat, question mark?
No, dude, Stoops is fine. They're not going to fire him. That's like the best they can get.
Because they have no hope, and they have never seen a better Kentucky football team.
Yeah, that's why.
They can just still sink in the mediocrity and live there. They can do whatever they want. Luckily for them, basketball starts in just a couple weeks. All right, number 22, Memphis is you, my friend.
Yeah, number 22, Memphis lost to UAB 31-24. UAB has an interim coach who has now as many ranked wins as Hugh Freeze does in his Auburn tenure. They both only have 1. So glad to see UAB and Auburn on the same level of stratosphere right now. Shout out that.
Plus, they had sweet neon jerseys. Don't know if you saw those UAB jerseys. Kind of fire.
Yeah, they're always good, dude. The Dragon, the UAB Dragon. Come on, dude. The Dragon as a mascot. That's just such a cool mascot. All right, you're up next, I think.
We talked about Utah and their L at BYU. A tough one for your Utes.
Yeah, then we got 24 Cincinnati at Oklahoma State. They just ran Oklahoma State out of the ballpark. They won 49-17. And that Cincinnati team said, hello, if you guys are still sleeping on me, wake up a little bit. Not all the way yet. We still have some things to prove, but they're showing themselves to be maybe potentially Big 12 title contenders, which is not ridiculous to say.
No, I agree. It's one of those bring your pillows, bring your blankets. Somebody's sleeping on the Bearcats. They've won 6 in a row and could be totally in that conversation for Big 12 title. Number 25, Nebraska, they got absolutely skunked on Friday night by Minnesota, 24-6. No signs of consistent offense there for Dylan Raiola and the Cornhuskers. Not a great sign for old Matt Rule. His allegiance to Penn State said this week, gave a 2-minute answer about how he's not going. Other games to watch for, I think, this week. I just had 3 of them, and I can run through them super, super quick. First one, Washington at Michigan in the Big Ten. Bryce Underwood had a nice day on the pitch, 230 yards, 10-point fourth quarter, and the Wolverines pulled away from the Huskies 24-7. Good recovery win, I thought, for Michigan after losing by 18 to USC last week. Down at TCU, offensive warfare. 439 yards for the Baylor Bears, 420 for the Horned Frogs. Top 2 passers in the FBS in Sawyer Robertson and Josh Hoover. 2-hour fourth quarter delay made this one a tough finish to try to tap into, but TCU ends up winning 42-36. And lastly, Florida State will remain at societal mediocrity and lack of legitimacy for as long as they would like. They lost to the Stanford Cardinal 20-13. They've now lost 9 straight ACC games. Stanford won with its leading passer, Ben Gulbranson, throwing for 90 yards, and its leading rusher, Cole Tabb, going for 118 on the ground. FSU had 440 total yards. Stanford, 293. The Cardinals still found a way to do it.
I got one more extra game. My extra game this week is going to be SMU Clemson. SMU beat Clemson 35-24, and don't look now, but SMU's 3-0 in the ACC, and they said, hello, we might have lost some early games, but we're back, baby. And SMU at Clemson to go win that game was mightily impressive. Coastal Carolina also went and won at App State, at App State, which is good for them because they're 3-1 in the Sun Belt. If you get the Sun Belt Fun Belt, which is good news. And Florida actually won. We didn't talk about it yet, but Florida fired Billy Napier.
Yeah.
I don't know
breaking
if we're
news
aware.
on the pod.
Yeah, it's not necessarily breaking news because I was delayed trying to post that because I was literally doing podcast stuff. But I was like, they actually won, and then they fired Billy Napier. Out of all the times they could have fired him out of loss, they fired him on a win.
Gus Malzahn-esque.
Yeah, in Penn State era, without James Franklin's not off to a hot start. They lost to Iowa 25-24. So I don't know if firing James Franklin was the answer. The pain in my voice, yeah. I feel
they lost to Iowa.
I feel a little bad for them. I can't lie.
I'm right there.
But they bullied me on the internet for years, saying I'm not high enough on their team. So you know what? This is just what it is. What it's got to be right now. Actually, it is what it is, baby. It is what it is.
And nothing they can do about it at this point. James Franklin interview on game day. Quick take on that. Thought it was really good. Glad he did it. Showed that he's still in it for the right reasons. No flack on Penn State. Really just talking about self-reflection. That guy's had quite the week with his children, with his family, with that program that he's built to what it has. For Saban to stand up for him like he did was pretty impressive, I thought.
Yeah, that was a really, really cool stand up. And for Nick Saban, yeah, like you said, to stand up for him and tell him, yeah, that was unfair. I thought that was really cool. And just what he did at Penn State with what he inherited was just insane. So just shout out James Franklin. Unfortunately, couldn't win the big-time games, and unfortunately, Penn State had kind of ran out of his patience, but I still think it should have been handled much differently than it was. Probably should not have been probably should not have been a midseason firing and something that happens over the offseason just for the player continuity and stuff like that. But what do I know? I don't know.
I'm inclined to agree. Let's go now into our version of helmet stickers, but better. We've got a couple segments before we wrap up this Week 8 episode. Let's first go to the culture check. Which program showed identity, energy, or chemistry from Week 7 to Week 8? I'm actually going to start on this one because Jeff Brohm and I have one big thing in common and one thing that we don't have in common. The big thing, both class presidents of our senior class at Trinity High School here in Louisville, Kentucky. Pretty cool. I'm gonna wear that badge of honor. Second thing, I have never beaten any opponent, ranked or unranked. In fact, I've actually never coached a college football game. That guy's 4-0 against top 3 teams as an unranked team. That's so impressive. Louisville Cardinals certainly, I think, walked out of Miami with a culture check, and they probably felt it too. Miller Moss, I saw, said a friend sent him a photo the week of the game from the movie Rocky IV, which Rocky Balboa, which, funny enough, Sylvester Stallone studied down at Miami. Rocky fought a Russian fighter who was thought to be unbeatable, unbelievable. There was no shot Rocky was going to win it. And at the end of the movie, Rocky, of course, wins. And Moss said in his postgame, this is kind of what that felt like. Culture check for the Cards.
Yeah, my culture check's going down to BYU, up to BYU, really, from where I'm at. And then in a nice little culture check, a win in the Holy War. Excuse me, man. Golly.
God
And a
bless
win in
you.
the Holy War. What a win for BYU. What a win for their quarterback there, Bachmeyer. Just a really good win. And I can't, my Utes, you're still my team, baby. Down deep down. I never forget you guys. You guys gave me a nice little swag pack. And I'll never forget you guys. But yeah, that's just a tough loss for the Utes and a huge win for BYU and what they want to do in the Big 12.
Definitely. BYU stays undefeated with the win. They got some swagger, but let's check out some others we are watching. Swagger Watch, who is a player from Week 8 that stood out to you that you think could continue to have a very star-studded year?
Ty Simpson, Gunnar Stockton. Those are my two. Those are pretty
Bang.
simple this week. I'm doing two because I think both of them deserve it. Ty Simpson, what he's been able to do at Alabama, despite the early flustered performance he had against FSU, what he's been able to do now is just huge for the program. So yeah.
Definitely. Good choice there. Who ever would have thought with conference alignment and all the shakeup in college football that Georgia Tech would have gotten good at football? Not me. Yellow Jackets are the last undefeated team in the ACC, and the ultimate chaos agent is leading the way, Haynes King. King was electric versus Duke, 205 passing yards, 120 rushing yards. He's doing it all, made it look relatively easy in a close one against Duke, like you mentioned. He's got 14 total touchdowns, 1 pick all year long. Georgia Tech flying high. King has the swagger right now. All right, let's go to the flip-flop pick. We got to confess one prediction that we were both dead wrong about after Week 8. I'll let you take this one first.
Yeah. So so about this one, I did the forbidden thing and I took Auburn, damn it. Okay, I picked Auburn to win a football game. I can't have crap around here, man. I was like, Auburn's actually going to win this week. I'm picking Auburn. Like, they can easily beat Mizzou. They got a great rush defense. They're at home. It's at nighttime. I mean, they're going to win this game. Oh, my gosh. And guess what? I was wrong. I was lied to. Hugh Freeze is a fraud. Auburn football is fraudulent. Just not a damn good football team, and I'm just disappointed. I'm never picking the Auburn Tigers again. You guys just make me look like I don't know ball. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm done. That's all.
That's certainly a tough one.
I had to let it out to somebody, so I'm letting it out to you. You can hear it, Vince.
And you know the Auburn faithful that are listening felt every last word of that. But this is why we do this, right? Because we do get to laugh at our stupid dead wrong predictions. That's literally the whole point. So appreciate you bringing that forth. After the Poop Town arrival from Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry last week, I doubted them. Mateer not in full gear. Defense struggled against Texas offense, which if told me anything this week, not that good. It was going down to 3-3 South Carolina. I was yelling timber for some reason, and well, Boomer Sooner handled Beamer ball 26-7, made that pick sound really, really dumb. So
it happens.
Right
It happens. It happens. It happens to the best. You know, it's okay. At least you didn't pick. You could have picked Auburn. Could always be worse.
I could have. That's true.
Could always be worse.
Could be worse. That's for sure. A great Week 8. Let's take a look at Week 9. I'm going to just roll right through the best games of Week 9, and you tell me which ones that we should watch for in a minute. All right, ready? Baylor at number 21, Cincinnati. Is going to be an offensive showdown, right? UCLA at Indiana. UCLA with Jerry Neuheisel. Will they be able to do the unthinkable in Bloomington? We shall see. Number 15, Mizzou at number 10, Vanderbilt. I believe that's where College Game Day is going in Week 9. This one is going to be a really good game. I think Mizzou told me with the running backs and the way that Bo was able to control the offense, I'm curious to see what they can do against a Vandy team coming with edge and coming with Clark Lea and that program. Number 22, Texas at Mississippi State. You better watch out for the cowbells there, Canyon Sierra. Your Longhorns might be in trouble. Don't want that. Number 8, Ole Miss at number 13, Oklahoma. That'll be another really, really high-powered game. Ton of a parallel slate here for SEC games in Week 8 to Week 9. Tons of good ones. USC at Memphis. Before Memphis lost last week against UAB, this one could have had maybe some playoff implications we could have seen, but I don't know anymore. USF, I'm curious to see how they fare. Kansas State at Kansas, rivalry game. Alabama at South Carolina is going to be a question mark, like you mentioned, for that seat that Beamer is sitting in right now. Alabama looking to keep cruising. BYU at Iowa State. Iowa State, the team that's kind of fallen off in the last couple of weeks with Rocco Becht. Might be a tough one on the road for BYU. Just one to watch out for from my book. Miami versus Stanford. Will Miami be able to recover? And will Stanford be able to do it 2 weeks in a row? We're going to see Kentucky at Tennessee. Or Tennessee at Kentucky. For some reason, people have trouble playing at Kroger Field. I don't know why. It's probably the most unintimidating atmosphere in all of college football, but that's going to exist and happen on Saturday. Texas A&M at LSU, my game of the week. Huge game for both sides, right? Can A&M stay unbeaten, stay hot, keep rolling? Can Brian Kelly keep his job and the fan base sane at LSU? I'm out of breath. Take it away.
Yeah, that was a lot. You threw a lot at us, but I'm going to tell you that
Bang.
Texas-Mississippi State game, that spreads at 6.5 in favor of Texas. Keep an eye on that one. When looking around two, South Carolina, Alabama, that spreads 13.5, pretty big point spread. You talked about the USF-Memphis game. It is a really underrated game, and USF's only favored by 3.5. Keep an eye on that spread. And the spread for Ole Miss, Oklahoma, it's 3.5 right now in favor of Oklahoma. I think that might flop a little bit during the week, so keep an eye on that. If you wanted an overhyped, not an overhyped, if you want a game where Oregon should cover and a massive spread, Oregon's favored by 34.5 at Wisconsin. I totally think that could happen. Another weird one is in the Illinois-Washington matchup. Illinois is the ranked dog, and Washington is not, but Washington's favored by 4.5 points. So that'll be something just to keep an eye on. And I think I kind of ripped on everything I need to. Oh, that you mentioned A&M LSU is your game of the week. That spreads at 2.5 in favor of A&M right now. So we'll see how that one plays out. Yeah, that's all I got right now for you, folks. My partner did it all. I just had to show up. Okay, I just had to be here, present. My partner just let it rip for about 2 minutes straight, and I had to sit there and just look at my computer. It's kind of I was just like, what am I supposed to do here? But no, my partner ripped it all off. But that was a really good. There's a really good slate of college football once again. And you mentioned Tennessee at Kentucky. Tennessee's only 8.5 point favorites. Texas was like 13.5 point favorites. So if anything, that's an indication that, maybe Vegas is starting to respect Kroger Field a little bit more than we think. So we'll see.
For some wild reason that I will never understand. I did hear they are doing a big renovation, adding a $30-some-odd million to that stadium for some reason. Don't know why. But another fantastic week of college football. From week 8 to week 9, we've got a great couple weeks on deck here as we near conference titles, college football playoff time. I'm curious to know, too, what our audience that listens and watches this would like us to do with the college football playoff, predicting that, with predicting the Heisman Trophy and these other highly esteemed, highly predicted things in college football. So if you have ideas or thoughts that you would like us to maybe flesh out and try in our next episode with those two things, let us know. I know I'm more than happy to incorporate those kinds of things into our show because I know people really enjoy listening to them and listening to us riff-raff about them. Anything else on this week 8 episode of Invincible?
Nope. It was a great episode. I can't complain about anything. I got a great co-host right here that just kind of shines. I just got to be there. Late night of watch, dude. Just too late. I was up watching college football till like damn near 12:30 at night. Okay, that's gonna take a Sunday toll for sure. Yeah. But as always, this means I love you or still love in sign language. And I do this sign. I've been doing this sign since I was a youngin in TND. If you watch TND lives, this is always kind of my go-to. I like to say this. I like to tell you to stay up, stay blessed, and that's usually the last thing you hear from me before I end an Instagram live. But now you get a little bit more of me. I'm not going nowhere. We're still right here. I'm still doing it again. It's not like I'm clicking end Instagram live. But my buddy Vince right here, he'll do the nice little outro. And I wish you guys a blessed week. Attack every single day and have a great day this week. If you make it a great week, why not make it a great week? I love that little saying right there.
Who needs a good week when you can have a great week, right? Make it special, make it great. Put a capital G on it. Why don't you? This has been the newest episode of Invincible covering week 8 of college football. You know where to find us: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Make sure you check out all of it, because if you don't, you're living under a rock. My name is Vince Wolfram alongside Kenyon Sheeran. This has been Invincible.